Welcome to this 95-minute coverage of the Australian Surf Lifesaving Championships from 1985 from Point Leo Beach in Victoria. This beach facing Western Port Bay is about 80 kilometres southeast of Melbourne, and it's halfway down the Mornington Peninsula, a very pleasant part of the world, and that peninsula, of course, separating Western Port Bay and Port Phillip Bay. As usual, the host club will entertain something like 3,500 competitors from all parts of Australia. They're here with their boards, their skis, their longboards, their swimming costumes and their surf boats, and once again one of the biggest sporting events to be held in Australia. This is a very famous part of the world. In fact, we're very close to Phillip Island, the Flinders Naval Base, and away down to the left, as far as you can see, perhaps not that far, you probably can't even see it, is that notorious Cheviot Beach, which years ago took the life of the Australian Prime Minister Harold Holt. Of course, the Point Leo Club is celebrating now its 30th birthday. It was formed just 30 years ago, and the most famous member of that club was John Marshall, the swimmer in the late 40s and 50s who held every world record in freestyle from the 100 yards, as it was in those days, to 1,650. And of course, one of the foundation members of that club was Alan Forster, who in fact was the ABC's first ever surf life-saving commentator in Victoria. So the stage is set here for a magnificent surf carnival, and to tell you more about the conditions down on the beach, let's cross now to our expert commentator John Donoghue, and he's speaking to Elaine Canty.
Thanks, Norman. Point Leo, John, what do you think of it as the venue for the national titles?
Well, I guess it's like any other beach in Australia. It's sand and it's water. The beach is a little narrow, or a little less in width than was required for a good championships. The disappointing part about it, it's a long way from any major venues for accommodation or entertainment, and behind the beach there is really nothing for the competitors or the spectators. But that's what surfing's all about, a total challenge for the competitors and also a challenge, I guess, for the spectators, and they've got it in Point Leo. I guess it'll be the last time it's held in Victoria if the Association Movement is considering what they're considering at the moment. But I think it's good for the sport of Victoria to see such great athletes compete in such a tight environment.
Well, the glamour event, of course, is the Ironman event. Who do you like?
Well, I think there's about 4 or 5 very good competitors there as far as competition is concerned. But Grant Kenny, if you looked at the heats yesterday, and Dwayne Thies, they competed very, very well. None of those competitors were really extended. And I think today it could be the 5th time Grant Kenny won it, although strong competition will be there from Craig Riddington from Manly, and also Dwayne Thies and Mark Bennett. So it's anyone's race, but it's going to be one hell of a race today.
Next, the march past the Grand Parade, and the honour of leading the parade today goes to the Seacliff Club from South Australia. The march past is a championship event. It's drawn by Ballarton Seacliff, and not the local club will come on first. Well, the Seacliff team of 12 have got a big lead there over the rest of the field, and they always say it's a good thing to march first or up near the front in the march past, and one of the top teams has drawn number 2 behind Seacliff. And I refer here to Freshwater in New South Wales, and there they are, the Freshwater team, who finished 2nd in the New South Wales title. So we've seen Seacliff, South Australia, Freshwater, New South Wales, and coming through behind them are the visitors from Perth, the City of Perth club from way over the other side of Australia. And they are number 3 in the parade, and notice there, in these teams you'll see quite a lot of women competitors, and the honour of coming 4th goes to the Kurrawa Club from Queensland, which in fact was the host club to the Australian title just 12 months ago on the Queensland Gold Coast. So leading the parade, Seacliff, Freshwater, City of Perth and Kurrawa. Now with me, of course, is John Donoghue, and if we talk march past John, I suppose there's only one club you can talk about.
Yeah, most certainly Bundaberg have had the run on this event for over the years. They've shared it actually with Collaroy. Bundaberg have won it 14 times, and of course Collaroy 11 times. And when we look at the Bundaberg team coming into the picture, their foe, Collaroy, are not even competing this year, and most certainly they're looking forward to another win. They're going to be hard fought for that between North Cronulla, the New South Wales champion, and of course Freshwater, and Warrnambool of Victoria is absolutely a great chance. But Bundaberg trying to take it out 15 times.
And they in fact have won the title for the last 3 years in a row, and they'll be very, very hard to beat. Well, with us is Colin Shark from the local club Point Leo. Colin, the Victorian champions, who are they?
That's Warrnambool. Warrnambool men's, actually, Norman. Warrnambool ladies coming in 2nd, and there they are now, marching very well. First time they've won it for many a long year, Warrnambool.
I see behind them the New South Wales champions, North Cronulla, and they're the only club to break the sequence, which is set up in the last 26 years by Bundaberg and Collaroy. 14 to Bundaberg, 11 to Collaroy, and a couple of years ago North Cronulla won the event. So we have the New South Wales and the Victorian champions marching together there.
Right, yes, well, Warrnambool, I think John's right. I think Warrnambool are a chance. They've improved, and it's interesting to note that the state titles here, Warrnambool men's won the event and Warrnambool ladies were the runners-up.
Well, the teams we've seen, perhaps the only other one of great interest to us would be the local club, Point Leo.
Yes, well, Point Leo, Norman, local beach, of course, and the team that's marching today is almost man for man, the same team that marched the 1963 Australian Championships at Warrnambool Beach.
I like their gold caps. It's a good colour, isn't it?
Yes, they certainly do look good there, and well, there's 21 years of surf experience each man. 21 years ago they last marched together, and they're looking pretty good today too.
Colin, it looks an excellent beach for a march past. It's a very firm surface, this sand. It hasn't got any loose sand on it much at all. That's almost like marching on a roadway.
Yes, it's an excellent beach. Probably one of the reasons why Point Leo was selected as the venue for this Australian Championships, Norman.
So the march past teams, we look down the way to our right, down to the marshalling area. We can see still a lot of clubs to come on. The total entry for today is 52. We think there are some scratching, so it's likely about 40 teams will compete in this march past, which traditionally opens the parade. Now, in the centre of the arena, we can see the colour party. They're standing at attention beside the band. And in the colour party today, we have not only the Australian flag, but also the flags of the United States and Japan, because we have lifeguards from both of those countries competing here today. And there's the old glory, the Stars and Stripes, and of course the rising sun of Japan there. But we also have New Zealand competitors and some from Great Britain as well. So this is a fully international competition, although in standards the Americans, the British, the Japanese and the New Zealanders not quite up to the best Australians.
No, but they're learning fast, particularly when you look at the Americans and the way they're competing in the swim and also coming up in the Ironman. And of course, in the New Zealand we have good Ironman, but most certainly they've got the best craft in the ski area, the best paddlers in the world today. But it just goes to show there's 52 countries attached to the World Life-Saving Body, which is governed from here in Australia, with Gus Staunton being the president and Paul Smith the secretary. And they've spread their tentacles throughout the world now, and you can see the result of that now when some of the overseas countries are coming down to Australia for the Australian Championships. So surfing worldwide in 1985.
So something like 40 clubs represented here in the March Past. There's the overview looking at that, and the teams will line up on the beach in preparation for the Grand Advance, and that's the March Past for the Australian Surf Life Saving titles here at Point Leo 1985. And the result of the march past, the great Bundaberg Club has done it again for the 15th time in 27 years. The Australian champions of Bundaberg, Queensland, with a loss of 8 points, only half a point behind them, Freshwater, New South Wales, then a further 3 points to Southport, South Australia, with a loss of 11.5. A great effort once again by Bundaberg.
Colin Shug, member of the Point Leo Club for 25 years. Colin, what can you tell us about the local conditions?
Well, I think today, Elaine's a pretty typical sort of day. It's not the sort of beach that really has a big wave in normal circumstances. We've got about a 1 or 2 foot swell there at the moment. Should get up a little bit later in the day. Fairly protected beach. Flinders and Phillip Island really keep it quite protected. Good beach for an Australian titles. I think we can guarantee normally fairly good conditions though, and a fairly easy beach though, I suppose you'd have to say, in relation to other Australian title beaches.
And today's conditions fairly typical?
I think fairly typical sort of conditions. Yesterday we had very choppy, sloppy conditions, probably unusual for Point Leo, but today it's settled down quite a lot.
And what do you think Point Leo has to offer as a venue for the national titles?
I guess its proximity to Melbourne. We'd be the closest surf beach to Melbourne. A lot of accommodation over in the Mornington Peninsula and quite a lot in the local area here. And a very well-known beach, I think, for Melbourne surf patrons.
The first swimming final is the Open Surf Teams race. There are 6 clubs represented here: Point Leo, Victoria, Southport, Queensland, Manly, New South Wales, Anglesea, Victoria, Wollongong, New South Wales, and North Cronulla, New South Wales. Each team has 4 representatives. They swim out in a normal surf race. First man home gets 1 point, second 2 points, third 3, and so on. And they go right through until the 24th swimmer, and the team with the lowest number of points, the combined total for their 4 swimmers, is the winner of the event. Now, as we only have 6 clubs, Point Leo in orange caps, Southport, Queensland in black, Manly in light blue, Anglesea, Victoria in white with green stripes, Wollongong, New South Wales, maroon with white stripes, and North Cronulla in blue and gold. And under these very cold conditions, a lot of the swimmers are wearing bathing caps under their normal surf cap. John Donoghue.
What a strong lineup of swimmers representing their clubs in this team championship. Of course, we've got Robbie Woodhouse and Greg Fasala from Point Leo. And in Southport, we've got Paul Morford and Sam Brook, all top-line swimmers. Manly is well represented with Craig Riddington, Julian Taylor, Chris Mortenton and Guy Leach. Anglesey with Leach and Fox, Harrison Sims. And of course Fox swam so well in the Interstate Championships held here on Thursday. Wollongong is well represented with Michael McKeon, Shaw, Borland and Lord. North Cronulla with Graham, Gray Parks, McGregor and Thompson. As the swimmers are now very close to the halfway mark on the way to the buoy. There's not much separating any of these swimmers at the moment, but we saw Greg Fasala get a great run out off the beach. And of course he's out there with Paul Morford just behind him at the moment, and also coming up very closely is Craig Riddington of Manly on this side. So the leading swimmers at the moment is Fasala just going around the white bay, followed by Morford of Southport, Queensland, and then Riddington of Manly from New South Wales. Further back to Michael McKeon of Wollongong, and further back here we see the other cap of Manly, and Southport right in the mix. Now have a look at the hustle there of a swimmer being pushed right under. But there is the leading swimmer at the moment hitting the green buoy. It's a bad mistake because it allowed Paul Morford to come right up on him. Now the interest will be on the return back to the beach as they go around this red and yellow buoy. We see the swimmer there from Port Leo and Victoria in front, behind him Manly, and on the right hand side of him is Paul Morford from Southport. And over here we see another Southport swimmer well positioned. Now at the moment Southport have 4 swimmers in the first 7 places. This is a highlight for the championships to be held later, but McKean is coming through at the rate of knots as they get about 150 metres off the beach at the moment. A slight break which will give them some assistance as they return through, but it's great positioning by McKean if he can hold it, because it's going to be an even bottom, no sand ripples to worry about, but it's still Fasala just a little bit in front at the moment. And Riddington's dropped back, so has Paul Morford, and of course it's McKean who's just a little bit behind him, and we see the other Southport at the moment on the other side. There's a wave, a great wave there, a little ride there for Point Leo man, and he's up and he's running, he's through, but have a look at the Southport guys coming through very nicely. So it's Point Leo across the line first. Southport will be in second place. Wollongong, Manly, that's Riddington and Manly going across the third, then another Southport, then North Cronulla, then comes Manly, then we come to Wollongong again, behind him Southport, Anglesey, Victoria, Manly, Point Leo, Wollongong, Southport. So it looks like 4 Southport swimmers are out onto the beach. Now it's a team with the least number of points that has declared the winner, but most certainly the first 4 club swimmers onto the beach were Southport, and it was a great race, a great highlight, and a prelude to the championships which will follow. But a great bit of swimming there by Point Leo to hit the beach first, but most certainly the balance of the swimmers didn't help the lead swimmer, and it appears in my mind it's going to be a great race between Southport and probably Wollongong.
And here's the official result. First was Southport Queensland with 30 points. Second, Manly New South Wales 38. Third, Wollongong New South Wales 48. So even though the gold cap of the local club Point Leo was the first man across the line, he didn't run a place at all, so he wasn't supported by his team. So the winners of the open teams race was Southport of Queensland.
There's the leading competitors heading out towards the clear water with a slight chop, with a strong wind as they proceed out to the buoy on the Longboard Championship of Australia. There's a few Australian champions in there. Norman has mentioned Mick Porra. Stephen Warren has won it 4 times. Lee Horwood has also won the Australian longboard title, and these competitors are in top shape, and you can see themselves positioning the board as they proceed out to the sea. In front at the moment is Mick Porra in the blue costume and the blue hat from Manly, and we see the first problem there. It looks like the Seacliff competitor. No, it's not Seacliff, but he's still paddling out there very, very strongly, but probably the competitor from Fairhaven. They've got a problem there, but it's still Mick Porra of Coogee who's in front as they proceed out to the buoys. Of course, this lead can change constantly on the way home. These craft run very, very well on top of the water, and they're getting to the buoys now. But when you get around to return them back to the beach, and here's the first turning buoy now, the competitors on the inside will have the best of the run, and of course that is Stillwell of Surface Paradise is going to go around first by this stage. Looks like Stephen Warren on the other side. That's a great paddle for Stephen Warren. Then to Mick Porra of Coogee, and further back to the other Mick Porra of Manly, I'm sorry, further back to Neil Johnson of Cronulla, who's paddling very strongly too. Peter McDonough is from North Cronulla is well placed. But there's the leading competitors now. See the difference in style between the Surfers Paradise competitor on the right and Stephen Warren on the left, and Warren has put him right into the corner with a difficult stroke to get around. Now watch the positioning of these competitors as they return back to the beach. Warren is trying to pick up the chop now. He's running on it very nicely. He's got on top of it. He's off his board. There was a problem for Warren. Up very fast, momentum stop, off again, and he's being passed now by Seacliff, which is Dwayne Thies. In there we have City of Perth that's come through very nicely also, but Surfers Paradise has run out. You see a master in surfboard paddling, Stephen Warren, positioned himself wrongly, got on a wave, didn't adjust back to the back of the board, and of course went over the side, and with the panic had difficulty getting back on it. Nothing separating these competitors as they come through now. We can see the yellow star of Surfers Paradise there, Manly pushing through very, very strongly, trying to get an assistance, and of course Mick Porra is going to make sure he puts in the best ones. But coming through at the rate of knots are these two competitors to lead the field in this longboard championship. Behind him we see Dwayne Thies, and further back we see Stephen Warren, who's lost all calculations now, but it's Mick Porra of Manly who's putting in the long ones to come back to the beach. He's got a handy lead with about 15 metres to go before they get to the finishing line, but a lot can happen at this particular stage with waves coming from everywhere. But it looks like it's going to be Mick Porra. He's across very easily, coming back into second place. It appears to be Surfers Paradise. Third place coming across the line now, so it's a great paddle. There's Surfers Paradise coming across into second and third position, so it looks like Mick Porra who's in first. It appears to me to be David Orchard into second place, and his teammate would be Craig Shelton from Surfers Paradise, and they're in, and a whole host of other competitors have now hit the beach.
And a jubilant Mick Porra, winner of the Longboat Championship for the second time, representing Manly in New South Wales. Second was Gavin Hill from Surfers Paradise in Queensland, and third Dwayne Thies from Seacliff in South Australia.
Tremendous performance, Mick. You weren't worried too much by these atrocious conditions?
Oh, well, actually, it's not much fun at all, as you can imagine. It's so choppy out there and so windy that it really is very hard to see. And I was worried because yesterday was so perfect. I wanted nice flat conditions, and today with this with the chop coming up, you know, it really was anyone's race out there today, and so it did worry me, that's for sure.
Well, you were very well placed going round the buoys. How important is that?
Oh, that's probably the most important thing. I didn't go off well off the beach, and the guys down the other on the left side got off fairly well, and I didn't catch them till the buoys, and I thought I was in trouble at that stage, because what happens is when you turn the last buoy, you get onto that first chop, that first run towards the beach, and that's a really big advantage. And so I was a little worried at that stage because I was in third spot, and I knew I had to catch them on the way in.
We've got a great record in this event, and also the Malibu board. Are you hoping to take out the double this year?
Yeah, I'm desperate to take out the double. That's my big ambition, and I'll be doing my best out there tomorrow with the Malibu race.
Jolly good luck.
Thanks very much.
And there's the start of an event which will make history here in the surf life-saving movement in Australia. This is the first ever women's Australian title. It's the Open Women's Malibu Board Paddle, and the winner of this race, therefore, is the first woman ever to be described as an Australian surf life-saving champion. Bits of trouble at the start. We'll run through the field for you. 13 competitors from 13 different clubs from 4 states of Australia. It's a very wide open field, and we have Tina Freeman of Scott's Head in New South Wales in 1, Susie Riddington, Manly in 2, Sue Dimmick of Portsea, Victoria in lane 3, Kelly Smith of Wanda, New South Wales in 4, Cassandra Sedgman from Yeppoon in Queensland, then Kate Miller, Tweed Heads, Coolangatta, Queensland, Louise Scoyne, North Burleigh of Queensland, Debbie Wright of Nobbies in New South Wales, she's the New South Wales champion, Sarah Riley from Cronulla, New South Wales, Carolyn Whiting from Cloriat Park over in Western Australia, Lisa Hardy from Mildura, New South Wales, Carol Fox from Anglesey in Victoria, and Laura Wenman from City of Perth in Western Australia. And very interesting to see here the different styles of these women board riders.
Those paddlers are paddling very, very strongly, all adjusted now to laying down on the board. The chop out there is very strong for them, and they're going the best they can, and they're moving quite fast too. We can see Allura coming up very, very, very strongly. That's Lisa Hardy from Allura on the wide side, coming through very, very strongly, and nothing much separating these paddlers as they come up to the first turning buoy.
Of course, the board riders on all forms of craft, in fact the boards and skis go around a triangular set of buoys, and there looks to be a change of leader here as the Allura competitor is coming through very fast on the inside, and that's a good bit of boardmanship, if I can use that word.
boardwomanship, I think it should be called, or board personship, whichever you like to express it as such. But Allura has got the perfect running there coming through. Now, we've heard Mick Porra from Manly discuss and describe that he likes to be the first around that last turning buoy, so as he can get any assistance from the first chop, and it's a great advantage to him. But we see Lisa Hardy of Allura coming through and opening up a big lead at the moment. The other paddlers have come back up to their knees to get assistance, and we can see the girl there from Nobby is Debbie Wright coming through in 4th or 5th position. Now, that's where she was in the state championships, and she was able to put the power on and surge through very, very nice. Now, we see that wave that the girl from Wanda, Lisa Hardy, got assistance on, but we see the other competitors up there. Now, there is some assistance for those competitors kneeling at the moment, because they've got the wind behind them, so they're like a sail on a yacht, getting all the assistance possible. And we see Lisa Hardy, who's still down on the board, trying to do it. Now, she will be positioning herself on that board up forward, so as the nose is running very, very nicely in this chop, and of course any chance of picking up a swell or a little chop will give her the assistance she requires. Out in front at the moment, Lisa Hardy of Allura, followed by Debbie Wright of Nobbies, and not far behind them, but really running on top of the chops, is Cassandra Sedgman of Yeppoon in Queensland. Now, they're possibly just over there. Cassandra, as we described, she's running on top of the chops and kneeling up, and she's looking behind, and she's most certainly getting a run at the moment, but she's a long way away from the rest of the field. She's out on her own, and she's going to try and run on those chops. Now, still in front at the moment is Lisa Hardy. Coming up very closely is Debbie Wright from Nobbies, but Cassandra Sedgman is a real threat, because she's right over there by herself, running on top of the chops and away from the finishing area, but she's most certainly in calculations at the moment. There's Cassandra Sedgman paddling very strongly, and coming up on her now is Debbie Wright of Nobbies, and she's got the best of the run at the moment. You see, she's hasn't positioned herself on the board, and she's dropped back there. But it's Debbie Wright coming through very, very fast with Lisa Hardy and Cassandra Sedgman, and they're putting their all into getting back to the... Look at the feet and the arms moving of Debbie Wright there, and we see Lisa Hardy on the other side. There's nothing much of it. Here's Cassandra Sedgman coming through on that wave that we predicted all the way. It'll be Cassandra Sedgman of Yeppoon who hit the beach first, and what a great effort. She took the risk and she got the wave right through the beach. So the first female Australian gold medal winner, of course, Debbie Wright of Nobbies, is in 2nd place, and just behind her, Lisa Hardy of Allura. So a great paddle to 3 good surf ladies in Cassandra Sedgman, Debbie Wright and Lisa Hardy to contest the first women's gold medal championship for Australia.
Here then is a result of the first ever Open Women's Malibu board paddle race. First, Cassandra Sedgman from Yeppoon in Queensland. Second, Debbie Wright from Nobbies in New South Wales. And third, Lisa Hardy from Allura, New South Wales.
Buddy Bond, manager of the California Surf Lifeguard team. Is that the equivalent of our surf life-saving movement in America?
It's similar as far as a volunteer organization. Our association is volunteer, but it's a makeup of professional lifeguards throughout the state of California.
Not voluntary like ours?
No.
Do you have national titles there, Buddy?
Yes, we do. We rotate them around the country, similar to Australia. And now that we have been incorporated with all the flatwater rescue organizations in the country, next year our championships are going to be on the Great Lakes, which will be similar to Point Leo, I'm afraid.
Well, what are your impressions of our national championship?
Oh, well, it's a tremendous effort as far as organization, and the level of competition is really impressive. Unfortunately, ours is not quite this level of competition, but it's kind of a fun thing where a lot of the professionals can get together and compete on a friendly level.
Is there anything different about our titles or the surf life-saving movement here?
I would say probably the biggest difference is a tremendous amount of public support in the way of sponsorship and just the whole consciousness of the public as far as supporting the competition.
Well, continue to enjoy yourself, Buddy. Thank you.
Thanks, Elaine.
Now, the field is lined up for the final of the open belt race, and we have 6 beltmen. In fact, of course, they have their linesmen and reelmen there as well. But on the right-hand side, in position number 1 from the Cronulla Club, just in the middle of the group of 5 there, is the veteran Peter Tibbets, who's won this event 4 times. Only 2 competitors in history have won it 4 times, and the other one was about 30 years ago, a gentleman called Don Morrison, famous beltman from Western Australia, and Don, by the way, is here as an official at this carnival.
It's a run of about 20 metres, and they're in the starters' hands now. Bill Ingram has got them ready to go.
And away they go. Let's pick them up as they go down to the water from the right-hand side. Position number 1, Peter Tibbets, Cronulla, New South Wales. In number 2, Barry Armstrong, City of Perth, Western Australia, await a good start. Robbie Woodhouse of Point Leo, the tall swimmer and the gold cap from Victoria, in 3. Then the 3 Southport men, Gary Watson, Mark Rayburn and Paul Morfitt. And in fact, the Southport boys not away too well, but position number 2, John, away very well indeed.
Yeah, Barry Armstrong got a good start off the beach, but so did Mark Rayburn up there at number 5. Tibbets was a little slow. Woodhouse of Point Leo is a long way behind at the moment. Watson is just with Woodhouse and further over to Rayburn. And as I see it now, Rayburn of Southport has got a good lead at this stage. He's a little bit in front of Barry Armstrong from City of Perth, and in the middle it would be Armstrong of Watson of Southport coming through in possibly to 3rd place. So at the moment, swimming very strongly out there in front is Rayburn of Southport. But it's going to be a great race between Mark Rayburn of Southport and Watson of Southport. Both those competitors are swimming stroke for stroke at the moment. It's going to see who has the big finish. Watson just on the right-hand side of the Mark Rayburn is slightly in front at this stage. Can Mark Rayburn put in the big ones? And don't underestimate over on the far left-hand side Paul Morfitt, who's coming home at the rate of knots also. Tibbets is swimming straight for his boy. The other competitors are slightly off their mark at the moment, but at the stage it's Gary Watson from Southport slightly in front of Rayburn, Mark Rayburn from Southport, and coming home at the rate of knots is the old timer Peter Tibbets, who has just slightly veered off his boy. Rayburn has sighted his boy and heading for it now, but it's anybody's race as those competitors are within 30 metres of the finishing mark. It's Gary Watson in front just at the moment from Mark Rayburn, and coming home at the rate of knots on his boy is Peter Tibbets. He's got the straightest course to run. It's going to be Tibbets close to Watson to get there. It's going to be Watson first. Watson's first, Rayburn second, and coming up in the 3rd place will be Peter Tibbets, and very close to him will be Paul Morfitt. The first 2 places will be Gary Watson of Southport, Mark Rayburn of Southport second, and very close for 3rd between Peter Tibbets of Cronulla and also Paul Morfitt of Southport.
The field lining up now for the Open Malibu final, and here on the right-hand side we have Mick Horror from Manly in the light blue cap, who won the longboard race, so he's going for the double. In position 2 is David Orchard from Surfers Paradise in Queensland, Gavin Hill also from Surfers Paradise in number 3, the same cap of course. Mark McCleary from Maroubra, that's a red and blue cap, is in 5. And then we have Mark Bennett from Southport in Queensland, the dark cap there. Stuart Holman from North Cronulla in New South Wales. Stevie Warren, the veteran from North Cronulla, New South Wales. Then Tony Ryan from Grange in South Australia. Dwayne Twice in the dark cap from Seacliff, South Australia, the very strong Ironman competitor. Neil Johnston from Cronulla in New South Wales, the blue there, the light blue, black and white. John Anderson from Southport, Queensland, the dark cap. And also on the extreme left-hand side, Hayden Rees from Southport in Queensland. And away they go.
Yes, and because Mick Parra will be trying very hard to make the double, and we can see him on the extreme right-hand side getting a great run off the beach. He's being pushed very hard by David Orchard from Surfers Paradise, and also Gavin Hill from Surfers Paradise, who's paddling very strongly at the moment. So it's a great race at the moment between Mick Parra of Coogee and Gavin Hill from Surfers Paradise. And right over on the far side, we have putting the big one through is John Anderson from Southport, and Hayden Rees also from Southport. And what a lineup it is. You see them starting to position themselves as they go out towards the buoy, and behind him we see other paddlers coming through, and Stephen Warren from North Cronulla, also Mark Bennett from Southport is well positioned, as is David Orchard from Surfers Paradise just behind them. All the competitors there positioning themselves on the way out to the turning buoy. The conditions here are quite suitable for them. There's the first turning buoy as we see it, and the paddlers are heading for it very clearly. It's still Surfers Paradise in front, followed closely by Southport and Manly, as all the paddlers are into position, trying to position themselves on this buoy. Of course, with the helicopter, we'll be able to see the action of the competitors as they turn the buoy, and to see the way they go. And there's the inside, we see Mick Parra not giving any room at all. He's first around. He's going to do a big sprint out to the pinnacle. He's taken over from Surfers Paradise and Southport. Behind them, we see the paddlers from North Cronulla and also Seacliff coming through. Dwayne Fires coming through very, very nicely, as is McCleary from Maroubra, and also Shelton and Hill from Surfers Paradise. But it's still Mick Parra in front at the moment from Surfers Paradise. A little bit further back, Southport coming through very nicely is the other competitors at the right knots. It's Mick Porra in a position where he likes to be. He likes to be the first competitor around the boys, and he is, and he's going to make every poster win on his return back to the beach to try and get all the assistance he possibly can from the chops. Now going back to the beach, and it is still Mick Porra in front, and he's got about 100 metres to go. There's slight chops behind him trying to run, and we see the Surfers Paradise paddlers going through. Dwayne Thies of Seacliff has come now right into calculation. He's past Johnson of Cronulla, and at the moment it looks like it's going to be Mick Porra of Manly all the way through. Dwayne Thies has come up into second place, and this is a good omen for the Ironman to be held later on in the day, but it's going to be Mick Porra running on top of this swell. In second place at the moment is Dwayne Thies from Seacliff, South Australia, and behind him we have Gavin Hill from Surfers Paradise. Hill's picked up a little chop and come right up to Dwayne Thies, but he's going to do it, but cross the line first. Mick Porra of Manly in New South Wales winning the double for the weekend in the longboard, and now taking out the Malibu board, and it's going to be a great race for second place between Thies of Seacliff, South Australia, and Gavin Hill of Surfers Paradise, Queensland. But we'll wait for the official placings for the minor, but a great run and a great paddle to Mick Porra of Manly.
Here's the confirmation that Mick Porra of Manly, New South Wales has won the Open Malibu board final. That gives him the board double, a great effort by him. Dwayne Thies of Seacliff, South Australia finished in second place, and Gavin Hill of Surfers Paradise, Queensland was third. Congratulations then to Mick Porra from Manly. Off now in the final of the Junior Surf Race, the Junior Surf Race Championship of Australia. From the right-hand side in position 1, Brent Pritchard of Allura, New South Wales, Gene Goodall, Mooloolaba, Queensland, Nick Todd-Hunter, Merewether, New South Wales, Jamie Grant of Grange, South Australia, Brett Taylor, Freshwater, New South Wales, Sean Kenny, Warriewood, New South Wales, a former Ironman winner in the juniors, Anson Weir of Cronulla, New South Wales, Todd Borland of Wollongong, New South Wales, Carl Wilson from Coogee, Dean Peters from Trigg Island, Western Australia, Trent Halliday from Maroochydore, Queensland, John Brennan of Surfers Paradise, Queensland, Stephen Shaw of Wollongong, New South Wales, Todd Peachy of Cronulla, New South Wales, Wayne McGregor, North Cronulla, Paul Lillyman of City of Perth, Western Australia, Peter Stengel, Point Leo, Victoria, he's in an orange cap. The great Stillwater swimmer Michael Mackenzie from North Burleigh in Queensland, he's the Australian champion in the pool. David Forst of Wollongong, New South Wales, Simon Skillington, Manly, New South Wales, Gary Lord, Wollongong, New South Wales, Michael Venice, Freshwater, New South Wales, James Sonneman, Allura, New South Wales, and Damien DeVos of Maroochydore, Queensland. Well, looking at the fields that come towards the boys, we noticed that Michael Mackenzie, the Stillwater champion, was not a very good runner and wader yesterday, and he's got to come from behind to win this.
Yes, and he's got to have enough up his sleeve to come home on the end. But Coogee is settling down. That's Wilson of Coogee. And have a look at the competitors behind him. It's a flurry of arms and legs, a lot of white water out there. Very hard to get your balance as the swimmers proceed along the string of the boys. But it's Wilson of Coogee that's positioned very nicely. Have a look at the swimmer over here on the left-hand side coming up at the rate of knots, and he's going to swim right over the top of him. Realising mistake, he's gone wide. Look how wide he's gone. He doesn't want to get caught there. He must have a lot of power, that competitor, to come through. And that looked like the swimmer from Queensland in Mackenzie. Mackenzie swimming very nicely from Queensland, coming through very, very strong of North Burleigh. He's come through but at the moment it's Wilson swimming very strongly. Coming through behind him is Vanessa of Freshwater, and coming down on the outside, swimming very widely. On the other side is Mackenzie from North Burleigh in Queensland. It's Wilson, Coogee in front, followed by Vanessa Freshwater in second place. Michael Mackenzie of North Burleigh is back into third place. And have a look at the conditions in which these swimmers are swimming. Wilson is now heading right, away off course. He wants to lift his head and have a look, because the swimmers in the middle are coming right down him. That's Michael Vanessa Freshwater, and he's lifted his head. Mackenzie trying to have a look. He's lost about a yard or a metre of ground there, but he's still holding him off. It's Michael Mackenzie and also Michael Vanessa coming down on top of Wilson of Coogee. So the lead, as we see it now, as they come forward, it's Wilson's about a shoulder length in front of Michael Mackenzie of North Burleigh, then back to Vanessa of Freshwater. Now, if we go back, we've got about 20 metres to go.
It's Michael Mackenzie and North Burley in front. We saw how slow a starter he was, and we saw how fast Wilson was off the beach. Most certainly as they come back and as they distance with about 10 metres to go, it's Michael Mackenzie of North Burley is going to push very hard. It is Wilson of Coogee in second place, but can Mackenzie run as fast? Oh, what a bad blue by Wilson of Coogee. He stopped and stood up, and that was a bad blow. Too deep. It's going to be Mackenzie all the way. He deserves it. He swam the best race, and it's going to be Michael Mackenzie of North Burley, Queensland, across into first place. Look at Wilson finish. If he hadn't stood up, he would have won it. Burley heads in first place. Mackenzie of Burley heads in first place. It's Wilson of Coogee in second place, and Michael Vanessa of Freshwater into third place. Trigg Island into fourth position. A great race to Michael Mackenzie of North Burley.
Now let's go straight across the boat race to Colin Show.
Well, at the moment in the boat race, it seems to be between the two New South Wales clubs, and that's Freshwater and Queenscliff. These two got around the boys well clear of the rest of the field. And I'd say, John, at this stage, they've got it between them. They seem to be about 2 or 3 boat lengths out in front of the rest of the field there. And the rest of the field, from position 1, it's North Narrabeen, Queenscliff, Maroya, Manly, Freshwater and Bulli.
And we should explain here, this is the final of the junior boat, is it?
Final of the junior boat race of Australia, and the two crews out in front. Freshwater, which is on the left-hand side, and Queenscliff on the right-hand side. Freshwater and Queenscliff.
Yes, and as we look at it now, Colin, it's Freshwater getting the best of the run. Up in station 5, they're rowing very, very strongly. Queenscliff, again from the same district, Manly Warringah, down in station 2, are rowing very tiredly at this stage. And as we see, with about 100 metres to go, it's a Freshwater crew that are putting in the big guns and being pushed by their sweep as they come back to the beach in their white boat. With 100 metres to go, they're about a boat length and a half in front of Queenscliff, but as Colin was speaking to me a little bit earlier about the perhaps a chance of a wave coming across that reef, and there's no wave there to assist the Queenscliff crew. It looks like it's going to be a strong row all the way to Freshwater. There again, a boat length in front, and we can see the big effort being put in now as they return back to the beach. It's going to be Freshwater all the way. There's going to be a big interest in second place, but it's going to be Freshwater if they can hang on to that run all the way. Manly is rowing very strongly, as is the crew from Tasmania in Burnie, but going across the line first will be the Freshwater crew. It looks as though it's going to be a great race for second between Queenscliff and Burnie, but it's going to be Queenscliff across the road in second place, and of course in third place a great race between Manly and Bulli, and I'll give it to Manly. So Freshwater in first, Queenscliff second, and possibly Burnie, Tasmania in third place.
The result of the junior surf race is now official. First, Freshwater, New South Wales. Second, the neighbouring club, Queenscliff, New South Wales. And third, Bulli, New South Wales.
Phil Watt, the 1985 BP Surf Lifesaver of the Year. Congratulations, Phil. A great honour for you and the Merryweather Club.
Yes, thank you very much. It's been a very exciting weekend for me down here in Victoria to come down and be privileged enough to represent New South Wales after being selected as their Lifesaver of the Year. To come down and have that privilege to start with, and then to be selected to be the BP Lifesaver of the Year has made a tremendous and successful weekend for our club.
I believe your mum was pretty pleased.
Oh yeah, I rang Mum just after the presentation and she was in tears, and everyone was very happy. My wife was very rapt because she's put an enormous amount of work into the surf club and myself over the years too.
And you're involved in just about every facet of surf lifesaving.
Yeah, it seems to be that way this year. I've been club president for Merryweather Surf Club in Newcastle, deputy president of our branch, involved in the helicopter rescue service that we operate there, which is sponsored by Westpac, and all sorts of things, but probably no more than a lot of other guys in the association. It's a great association, and you just want to be involved in it, so it's just natural you get involved.
A field of 25 for the Open Surf Race Championship. Paul Lee of Cottesloe on the right-hand side in position number 1. Then Matthew Cosgrave of Torquay, Victoria. Darren McFarlane, Point Leo, Victoria. Barry Armstrong, City of Perth, Western Australia. Glenn Husdell from Grain, South Australia. John Fox, Anglesea, Victoria. Paul Sims, Anglesea, Victoria. Michael Mackenzie of North Burley, Queensland, who won the junior surf race a little while ago. Mark Scully, Freshwater, New South Wales. Cameron Leach of Anglesea, Victoria. Stephen Hopkins, Scarborough, Western Australia. Adam Sambrook from Southport, Queensland. Robbie Woodhouse, the Olympian from Point Leo, Victoria. Jeff Vandergraaf from Surfers Paradise, Queensland. Michael McKeon, the very strong swimmer from Wollongong, New South Wales. Gary Watson of Southport, Queensland. Paul Morfitt, Southport, Queensland. John Boxall, Southport, Queensland. Chris Mortensen, Manly, New South Wales. Richard Rollins, Wanda, New South Wales. Peter Duncan, Maroochydore, Queensland. Rick Pallister, Allura, New South Wales. Michael Venice of Freshwater, New South Wales, a place getter in the junior event. Michael Newman competing by invitation from United States, and Craig Jones from Seacliff, South Australia.
But as they come up to the buoy, we saw the break off the beach going to Anglesea, and then Maroochydore on the far left-hand side getting a good run, and Michael McKean coming out of the whole group of competitors in the front, taking up to the front, to the lead. He's slightly off his buoy at the moment. He has to lift his head to have a look, and he's got a fair way to come across to it. And on the perfect position on the buoy, we see Anglesea and also coming through very nicely. But there's McKean has positioned himself on the buoy. He's first one around. In second place is Rick Pallister from Allura, and on the inside of Rick Pallister we see a competitor looks like from Wanda swimming very strongly. But coming through, that'll be Rollins, Richard Rollins from Wanda coming through on he's positioned himself well on around the buoy, and he's come through very nicely up on Michael McKean just a little bit, but swimming in equal second place. As they come up to the last buoy, it's Michael McKean of Wollongong going around first. On the inside, Rollins of Wanda, and on the outside we see Pallister of Allura. Just behind them is Michael Venice coming through as he did in the junior surf race. He's coming down on the right-hand side, and he's most certainly the fastest swimmer over a distance, but maybe not the best surfer, and he's giving a lot of room away to the competitors as they return back to the beach. With about 120 metres to go, it's Michael McKean swimming very, very strongly, the winner of the junior title last year, first year as senior, coming through at the rate of knots and still holding the lead from the other competitors. Behind him we see in second place is still Rick Pallister of Allura, then Rollins of Wanda, further back to Michael Mackenzie of North Burleigh, sitting back in third place. Now Mackenzie is a distance swimmer. Right now he's swimming the fastest 1,500 metres, probably in the 10th fastest in the world, and he's going to put the power in right now after the finish of the beach. Michael McKean is a very, very good surfer, schooled in the McKean family, and he's a great finisher also. If they get to the beach, it's going to be very hard to beat McKean, but most certainly the pressure is going to be put on McKean now, because Mackenzie has moved into second place, and he's moving through onto McKean's feet right at the moment. Coming down on the other side, we see the competitor from Southport now positioning himself into third place, and it's going to be a great race as they come through. It looks like Watson from Southport has moved into third position, but then comes the big ones of Pallister and also Rollins of Wanda, and coming through is Michael Vanessa of Freshwater. It's still Michael McKean of Wollongong who's going to hit the beach first. He's going to look like he's going to take out this Australian Championship, and it's going to be a great race because he's defeated a top field. There he is. You watch the big legs of McKean come up. It looks like it's Michael McKean of Wollongong who's going to run out first. In second place will be Michael Mackenzie of North Burleigh, and it's going to be a race for third, and it looks like Watson of Southport is going to be in the third place. Coming into fourth place will be Vanessa of Freshwater, then Rick Pallister of Allura will be in fifth place, followed by Anglesea and the North Cronulla, and Robbie Woodhouse from the local club Point Leo coming in fourth place. So it's a great race to McKean to win in such a top field. We saw Mackenzie, who won the junior, come out into second place, couldn't pick up McKean on the run, and of course Watson from Southport, Queensland, moving up into third place.
The result of the open surf race was Michael McKean from Wollongong, New South Wales, second placing to Michael Mackenzie from North Burleigh in Queensland, and third placing to Gary Watson from Southport, Queensland. The winner, Michael McKean, Wollongong, New South Wales.
Big win for you, Michael.
Yeah, I was doing my best, yeah.
Second in the junior event last year and winning the Open this year.
Yeah, I'm pleased. Last year I didn't get to do the Open state, but this year I was hoping to win out the Open.
Well, you're looking good all the way. Were you fairly confident?
I knew there was a lot of people around who would be close. I was a bit touch and go, but as soon as I hit that last can, I thought, well, here it goes.
There's a bit of slight swell today. Is that any help to the swimmers?
Yeah. With the water a bit smoother and that, it helps a lot because you can set your sights on where you're going on the way out. Yesterday you couldn't see the cans at all until you're right on top of them, but today you could, sight yourself halfway out.
A field of 15 lining up for the Single Ski Championship of Australia. On the right-hand side in position number 1 is Peter Foster from Torquay in Victoria. Beside him in the bluish cap is Ken Elliott from Penguin in Tasmania. Then the white and black of Chris Brond of the Entrance in New South Wales. Tim Bush from Anglesea, Victoria. Greg Juniper from Christie's Beach in South Australia. Adrian Norton from Burnie, Tasmania. the light blue of Steve Wood from Manly of New South Wales, and then the famous yellow ski of Grant Kenny from Alexandra Headland of Queensland. He was the winner of this event 2 years ago. Shane Wooden of Southport, South Australia. Chris Maynard, Tweed Heads and Coolangatta in Queensland. Peter Clark of Byron Bay in New South Wales. Kelvin Graham, Southport, Queensland. Ray Martin of Avoca, New South Wales. And finally in the gold cap, the local Clayton McDonald from Point Leo in Victoria. A field of 14, single ski championship of Australia.
Competitors are away to a great start, and it'll be an even break off the beach. And look at the explosion of the Christie Beach, South Australia, and also down on the Torquay, and Chris Bron in the middle from the entrance. Woods of Manly's got a good break, and as has Clark of Coffs Harbour, and down the other side we see competitor Ray Martin from Avoca Beach. Nothing separating competitors, but as they're about 40 metres off the beach, it's Chris Bond of the entrance, and down on this side we have Peter Foster from Torquay that are battling up. These two paddlers at the moment have it, and they're about 150 metres off the beach. And of course with our helicopter we'll be able to see the efforts of these paddlers as they go around the turning buoys. There's a fair way to go. It's the longest buoys out there except for the boat races, and we'll see them coming up, and we'll see a ski paddler right up there also, basically just to the seaward side of them. There we see the leading competitors now going further out to sea to their top of the triangle of their turning buoys, and Grant Kenny is just coming into the picture now, and he doesn't look like he feels he can put the big ones in to pick them up. Going across the buoys now, the leading competitor is Chris Bond from the entrance, coming back to Peter Foster from Torquay just on the inside, and further back then to Ray Martin of Avoca, further back then to the competitor from Point Leo, Victoria, which would be Clayton McDonald, is in fourth place. But at the moment, it's Ray Martin putting the big ones, trying to pick up the green ski of Chris Bond at the entrance, and he's seeing Ray over his right shoulder, and behind him we see Peter Foster from Torquay, and Grant Kenny's made great growth. He's into the sixth position, but I don't think I'm better up. But look at the Southport competitor coming through. He's moved up on Ray Martin at the moment. It's Chris Bond with 150 metres to go. It's Chris Bond at the entrance putting in a big one. Southport's coming through very, very fast. Ray Martin's on the yellow ski on the other side. Clayton McDonald on the red ski is in fourth place. And have a look at the one put in by the Southport competitor and also Ray Martin. Chris Bond at the entrance has picked up the little swell in the front, but he's going to have to put in the big ones. It's a good one for Chris Bond. He's going to come across the line first. It's Chris Bond in first place, Southport in second place, and Ray Martin from Avoca in third place.
And the result of that single ski officially, Chris Bron, the entrance New South Wales, was first, Kelvin Graham from Southport in Queensland second, and Ray Martin from Avoca Beach in New South Wales in third place.
Well done, Chris. We thought for a little while there it was going to be first Chris Bond, second Daylight, but there was a bit of a rush at the finish.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I couldn't hear anything but the splash of my blades, and I just knew I was enough in front to maybe make a surge and stay there. I'm just pleased to have won my first Australian title.
Well, you must have been pretty confident going into the final. You did very well in the preliminary round.
Well, I psyched up a lot for this one. Actually, this morning's semi, as far as I was concerned, was a shocker. I only just scraped through, so I thought I'd better get my act together for the final, and I'm very glad that that's happened.
Well, you were well positioned all the way. Did you intend to be in the lead there going around the boys?
Yeah, my sort of specialty is getting in front toward the cans, but I never had the oomph to get back home with it too to the beach. So this year I've worked a lot on that, and I'm glad to have been in front all the way, or at least with the leaders to the cans.
And racing now in the first ever Women's Open Surf Race Championship of Australia. So we've never had one of these before, a Women's Open Surf Champion, and we have a field of 24. We'll run through them for you slowly because it's quite an honour for any swimmer to be in this particular event. We've had from the right-hand side Sarah Riley from Cronulla, New South Wales, then Nicole Stedman from Wollongong, New South Wales, Cheryl White from Jan Juck in Victoria, Sharon Halson from Nobbies of Queensland, Katrina Burgess of South Curl, New South Wales. I said Nobbies of Queensland, Nobbies, New South Wales, of course. Natalie Dart of North Kira, Queensland. Laura Wenman from City of Perth, Western Australia. Kylie Freeman from Scott's Head, New South Wales. Alison Fredericks, Kiama, New South Wales. Jodie Larson from Cronulla, New South Wales, who carried the standard in the Surf Carnival of the Australia Games. Lisa Hardy from Allura, who finished a place in the board race yesterday. Carol White from Anglesey, Victoria. Kate Miller from Tweed Heads, Coolangatta in Queensland. Debbie Wright from Nobbies of New South Wales, also a board place getter. Bronwyn Elford of Allura, New South Wales. Rachel White of Ulverston, Tasmania. Kelly Murphy, Allura, New South Wales. Cassandra Sedgman of Yeppoon, who won the actual Malibu board race, the first ever Women's Australian Surf Champion. Mary Brown of Kiama in New South Wales, Belinda Hardy of Lyra, New South Wales, Fiona Cameron, Surfers Paradise of Queensland, Jenny Paletti, Jan Jack, Victoria, Jenny Freeman, Scott's Head of New South Wales, and Helen Josclair from the local club, Point Leo from Victoria.
They're about the three-quarter way mark to the turning buoy, and they're swimming very, very closely and not much separating any of the swimmers. At the moment, it looks like Jodie Larson of Cronulla's in front from Cassandra Sedgman from Yeppoon in Queensland is swimming in second place, and a little bit further back to the girl from Nobbies, which is Debbie Wright from Nobbies. The girls choosing to who can swim fast. We saw laying down on the surfboard and coming through in the Malibu paddle race very well, but at the moment, as they've gone through the buoy, it's the first competitor through. It looks like the Cronulla competitor appears to be Jodie Larson, who's got the best of the turn on the buoys, and she's swimming very, very strongly. Behind her is Cassandra Sedgman, and behind her we've got a Wollongong competitor, then do Deborah Wright from Nobbies, and Jan Jack is well placed on the outside. A leading competitor is now around the buoys, and of course that is the Cronulla cap from New South Wales who's in front, and it appears to be Jodie Larson swimming very, very strongly in front. Behind her is Cassandra Sedgman from Yeppoon in Queensland, and Wollongong who is well placed and swimming very, very strongly. It'll be interesting to see as whether this Cronulla competitor in Jodie Larson can come through and hold this race right through to the finish, because she's got a strong lineup of competitors there that she's got to beat. But have a look at Debbie Wright as she comes through from Nobbies at the moment. There's two swimmers there from Nobbies coming through, and Debbie Wright from Nobbies coming through, and she's running very, very strongly, and also Sharon Halson from Nobbies are coming through. So Nobbies are putting on a big challenge at the moment onto the Cronulla girl. It's all blue in front, but it's two from Nobbies coming through on each side of the Cronulla competitor. It's Cronulla in front and Nobbies on the right. That's Debbie Wright on the right, and we see the other girl, Paulson, from Nobbies coming through very fast too. The lead has changed a couple of times. Cassandra Sedgman's further back, and as is the Wollongong girl, but there's the leading competitor trying to stay. It looks like Larson is up on her feet. She's porpoising, and it's going to be Jodie Larson who's going to hit the beach first. It's going to be Jodie Larson, who is again added to a gold medal tally from the Australian Games. It's Jodie Larson across the line first. In second place it is a girl, Debbie Wright from Nobbies, and in third place will also be the teammate from Nobbies. So that's a great swim to the first Australian Women's Open Surf Championship in Jodie Larson. A great second and third to the Nobbies pair, and what a great wrap-up for a female event.
So the first ever women's surf race has been won by Jodie Larson from Cronulla, New South Wales, second placing to Debbie Wright of Nobbies, New South Wales, and third placing to Sharon Halson, also from the Nobbies Club in New South Wales.
Alan Welton, President of the Surf Lifesaving Association of Australia. Alan, how big is surf lifesaving in Australia today?
We're on an all-time high at the moment. We have over 50,000 members. We have 20,000 active members actually patrolling and surfing and looking after the beaches around Australia. And in our junior ranks, our nipper ranks, we have another 25,000 members.
Is it growing throughout Australia?
It's growing throughout Australia. The advent of the girls coming in has been excellent. It's put a lot of life into the clubs, and at the same time it's given us a lot more members and some excellent patrolling members at the same time.
Now, what do you think of Point Leo as a venue for the National Championships?
It's a long way out. It's very hard to run a carnival the size of the Nationals at a beach like Point Leo. The club and the state have done an excellent job, and we can't complain about anything. But it's a long way to bring competitors from right around Australia, and it really hasn't got the facilities to hold a championship for 5,000 competitors.
Well, I believe this might be the last time that Victoria holds the national title, is that correct?
Well, there is a move afoot at the moment to move the Nationals to the eastern seaboard, to run between Brisbane and Sydney, to run virtually 100 miles either side of the major cities. And the idea of that is to have beaches that can cope with the crowds, because a championship should have crowds in excess of 50,000 people.
Well, how's this going to affect support for surf lifesaving in the other states?
No, we intend to highlight the interstate series, which is a very excellent carnival, take it away from the Australian and move that round to the other states. So Victoria, Western Australia, South Australia and Tasmania would now have a major carnival in its own right every 4 years. And those states seem to be supporting the move very happily.
Lined up now at the start of the Open Double Ski Final, we have Steve Good and Greg Bennett of Manly, New South Wales in the light blue caps on the right-hand side. Matt Pepper and Doug Idale from Wanda, New South Wales. Paul Teeney and Rick Payne from Jan Jack in Victoria. Paul Gilmore and Nigel Orbell from Alexandra Headlands in Queensland. Murray Braund and Bill Mitchell from Avoca, a well-known pair, Avoca, New South Wales. Tony Orwin and Peter Foster from Torquay, Victoria. Greg Juniper and Dave Reynolds from Christie's Beach in South Australia. The Vidler brothers, Ken Vidler and Colin Vidler from Scarborough, Western Australia. The Wooden brothers, Mark and Scott from Southport, South Australia. Adrian Norton and Jeremy Norton, again brothers from Burnie in Tasmania. Ian Rowling and Shane Wooden from Southport, South Australia. Chris Bond and Peter Lang from the Entrance in New South Wales. Grant Kenny and Danny Sheard from Alexandra Headland, Queensland. And Cliff Goulding and Gavin Newstead from Torquay in Victoria.
Steve Wood and Greg Bennett of Manly, absolutely powerhouse in paddling. They're in the middle of the field and they're waiting for the gun right at the moment. You notice them down there right next to Peter Pepper and Doug Idale of Wanda. Of course, then you go down to Murray Braun and Bill Mitchell of Avoca, great paddlers of the past and also a contender for this race today. With them is the Vidler brothers and also Grant Kenny and his partner Sheed, Danny Sheed from Alexander Headlands, and Cliff Goulding and Newstead from Torquay. The paddlers are now well on their way to the mark, and there's Braun and Mitchell who got the best of the break off the beach, and they've got a great run. And as they're coming down to this side, the pair from Alexander Headland, Gilmore and Grebel, have got a good run off the beach too. They're about the halfway mark on the way to the boys now. It's still Chris Bond and Peter Lang of the Entrance in front as they proceed out to sea, pushed very hard by Murray Braun and Bill Mitchell. And over the other side we get Grant Kenny and Sheed. On this side, Wood and Bennett from Manly. It's going to be a great race because all the tactics in the world will take place as they get close to the turning buoy. They're getting up to the first turning buoy now, and there's still Chris Bond and Peter Lang in front, and on the other side you see Bennett and Wood just taking them over at the moment. And look at the pedalers in the middle, there's all the power in the world. So we see Wood and Bennett slightly in front at the moment of Chris Bond and also Peter Lang, and then we see Murray Braun and Bill Mitchell coming through. They've just turned their first buoy and they're on their way now to the top of the triangle before they make their way back to the beach. But it's Bennett and Wood of Manly who've got the best of the run, and we see them going around the buoy now. Now these are the fastest short craft in the association powered by men, and they're going at the rate of knots. Their leaders change. Look at this tangle of skis and paddlers at the turning buoy there. No infringements made in any way, shape or form, and the leading paddlers are on their way, and it appears to be the Manly paddlers of Greg Bennett and his partner Steve Wood, who are paddling very, very strongly. They're in front, and coming down on the other side it is still Murray Braun and Bill Mitchell. In the middle, Chris Bond and Peter Lang, and on the other side we've got the pair from Alexander Headlands in Grant Kenny and his partner Danny Sheed. It's going to be a great race. Coming down at the moment it is Steve Wood and Greg Bennett. Greg Bennett being in the front, and he's paddling very, very strongly, setting the time for Steve Wood sitting behind him. It looks like the Australian Championships is in their grasp. On the other side we've got Grant Kenny and his partner Danny Sheed coming through into second place, and it's going to be the pair from Manly across the line first. Greg Bennett, Steve Wood's Manly in first place. Danny Sheed, Grant Kenny into second place, and look at the finish for third place, coming through very fast, and we'll put it back into a great battle for the third place because I couldn't pick it from here. But a great win to Manly in the double skis. Steve Wood, Greg Bennett, with second place going to Grant Kenny and Danny Sheed of Alexander Headlands.
The result now of the open double ski final. First, Wood and Bennett from Manly in New South Wales. Second, Kenny and Sheard from Alexandra Headlands in Queensland. And third, the Norton brothers from Burnie in Tasmania. And off they go in the junior Ironman. We have Michael Bannister from Cronulla on the right-hand side, then Sean Kenny from Warriewood, Brent Pritchard from Allura, Darren Mercer from Austin Mere, David Reeves of Coffs Harbour, all those in New South Wales clubs, then John Dobell of Mooloolaba, Queensland, Trevor Hendy, Surfers Paradise, Queensland, Trent Holliday, Maroochydore, Queensland, and Paul Wright from Tweed Heads and Coolangatta, also in Queensland. Dean Koski of Swansea Belmont, New South Wales, Peter Dorries of North Burleigh, Queensland, Gavin Thompson, North Cronulla, New South Wales. The sequence is ski, board and swim as they go towards the first turning board.
And yes, the North Burleigh competitor has got a good break at the moment, followed by Swansea Belmont and further over to Kiama of New South Wales, and over this side to Sean Kenny of Warriewood. But it's North Burleigh all the way at the moment, paddling very, very strongly on the ski. Swansea Belmont is in second place, and going up into third place is Sean Kenny from Warriewood. They're getting very close now to the first turning buoy. They're going across to it now, the black and white buoy.
But as we look at it now, it's North Burleigh, it's in front, Swansea Belmont in second place, and Sean Kenny, Warriewood third.
We'll join the action of the junior Ironman a little later on. Let's go now to the beach.
And lined up in the starter's hand are the competitors in the James Hardy Open Beach Sprint Championship. And to give us his call, Colin Shuck.
Thanks very much, John. Competitors from the beach side, position 1, Broadhurst Cronulla, Savamari Marcooley, Warren Peters Surface Paradise, David Turnbull Cronulla, Darren Peters Surface Paradise, Hickson Fremantle, Meredith Coogee and Hutchison from Glenelg in South Australia. Competitors in the starters' hands. Once again, the ones to watch. Boy from Cronulla in position 1 and the 2 lads from Surface Paradise. Starters' hands. They're away. It's a good start too. The 2 boys from Surface Paradise have got a great break. Warren Peters in front. Darren Peters challenging him. The 2 boys from Surface, they've got it between them. Warren Peters in front. Darren Peters in second position. And the boy from Fremantle or the lad from Cronulla into third position. Right, well, you can see there Warren Peters and Darren Peters running, and they're a full 3 or 4 metres in front of the field. The left-hand side, Broadhurst from Cronulla, but they've got it between them, the 2 brothers. Warren on the left and Darren on the right. Warren's about a metre in front of him there as they come towards the line, and a good win. Very tight for third, John. I rather think the Fremantle boy got up for third there, but might have to leave that one to the judges. But once again, an excellent race by the 2 Peters brothers from Surface Paradise.
The result of the beach sprint, a great triumph for the Peters brothers from Surface Paradise. First, Warren Peters, Surface Paradise, Queensland. Second, Darren Peters, Surface Paradise, Queensland. And third placing to Richard Hickson from Fremantle in Western Australia.
Okay, the competitors are now getting very close to the changeover of the first leg of the junior Ironman. And it is still the competitor from North Burleigh. Doris from North Burleigh is in front. Followed behind him is the competitor from Swansea Belmont in Koski, and behind the Swansea Belmont competitor is Ostermere with Mercer, Darren Mercer. So there's the leading competitor now. The leading competitor from North Burleigh going across to his board to pick it up, and he'll pick it up very comfortably. In second place is the competitor from Swansea Belmont, Koski, and in the third place we have the competitor from Ostermere, Mercer. So we have those 3 competitors in the water out into the second leg.
Now, as they set off on their surfboards, let's meet the winner of the beach sprint.
Magnificent run, Warren.
Thanks.
Nice to see you break through for a win.
Yeah, it's a pleasant change to win instead of coming second.
3 years running, you've had second, haven't you?
Yeah, a bit of bad luck. I suppose I should have won a couple of those years, but I'm glad I finally got there this time.
And you seem to have it 1 metre from home today.
Yeah, well, lucky this year the competition hasn't been as strong, so I had a bit of extra yardage in it.
And you got off to a good start?
Oh, fairly ordinary actually, but it doesn't matter. I usually try and pick them up at the end anyway.
Right, and as they get close to the final of the second leg, there's been a change in the lead with Darren Mercer of Ostermere coming through very, very nicely on the board to take over from Peter Doris from North Burleigh. And of course we have the paddler from Swansea Belmont in third place. And there's the leader at the moment in the second leg, and it is Darren Mercer from Ostermere on the south coast of New South Wales. In second place, Peter Doris of North Burleigh in Queensland, and in third place we have the competitor from Swansea Belmont in Dean Koski. And there's the leading competitors now. Sean Kenny is coming into it, and they're going in now to the third and final leg. And so the leaders are Darren Mercer from Ostermere, New South Wales. Then we have Doris from North Burleigh in Queensland. Then we have the competitor from Swansea Belmont in Koski. And the fourth one into the water is Sean Kenny from Warriewood in New South Wales, and a very strong swimmer, and we'll come back to that event. But right now we're going over to the Open Beach Relay. We have now the final event of the afternoon, the Open Beach Relay Championship. I'll call the event for you, Colin Shuck.
Thanks very much, John, and they're away, and what a good start. It's Glenelg, Woonona, Cronulla, Coogee, North Cronulla, North Narrabeen, Surface Paradise and Queenscliff. And the early leader is probably Surface Paradise there in position 7. Good change from Surface. Queenscliff, no, they've dropped the baton, so Surface Paradise out in front. Woonona and Cronulla are up there in second and third position. Surface coming up to the second change. They're in front. It looks like at this stage Cronulla in second position, and then Coogee. Surface showing the way. North Narrabeen coming up strongly now. Surface Paradise still in front. Cronulla in second position, and Surface coming up for the last change. It's a good change. They're just in front. They should go on and win this one. Surface Paradise in second position. Cronulla running on strongly now. Glenelg, but it's too late. Surface in front. Here's a run from Cronulla. Cronulla have got up. Oh yes, what a finish. Cronulla have got up. Surfers Paradise second, tight for third. Glenelg or North Narrabeen, and a terrific run, John Donoghue, by that last runner from the club from Cronulla, New South Wales.
Well, it's now official. The result of the Open Beach Relay: Cronulla, New South Wales first, Surfers Paradise, Queensland second, and Glenelg, South Australia, third. And there we have the big catastrophe now. Peter Dorries from North Burleigh Heads, who was a leader in this leg of the race, has stopped, and they've dispatched a rubber ducky to him. He's disqualified himself. He's signalled for help, and a rubber ducky is coming over to pick him up. It would appear that he's got a cramp. First time I've ever seen it, and he's being pulled into there right away. Just go to surveillance of what happens in surf lifesaving. One of the best lifesavers in the junior ranks in Australia, was the leader in this event, has disqualified himself, has been picked up within seconds, and you can see the agony he's in as he's being returned back to the beach, and the first aid crew are right down there to pick him up. So it's a great effort by young Peter Dorrie of North Burleigh to lead in this event. Having disqualified himself, something's happened. Within seconds he was picked up by the surveillance IRB, and right now the medical teams are on the beach with him. Switching back now to the Junior Ironman Championship, and Darren Mercer of Ostermere is still in front of this event, and they're coming back to the beach now. He's got about a 10-metre lead over Sean Kenny of Warriewood, New South Wales, and behind him we have the competitor Koski from Swansea Belmont. Those three competitors are coming back to the field, to the beach, and swimming very strongly. The interest certainly will be is how fast can Sean Kenny go. Can he pick back the young swimmer from Ostermere in New South Wales and Darren Mercer? He started off in 4th place, and we saw that spectacular and exciting changeover onto the third leg. Then we saw the accident of the young competitor there from Peter Dorries from North Burleigh being carried back up to the beach now by the first aid crew, and he's in a lot of pain down there, and it's unfortunate to see such a good competitor have the problems he did, but most certainly excellent work by the patrol on duty here. And we see Mercer there, this young fellow Peter Dorries now being treated on the beach, and the leading competitors are only about 30 to 40 metres off the beach, and it's going to be a big effort. And as we go back to the field now in the Junior Ironman, it's Darren Mercer of Ostermere who's swimming so strongly it's unbelievable. It's Sean Kenny who's the strongest swimmer, is not picking up any ground on him on their return back to the beach, and it's only 20 metres to go as they get back to the wade for the short run and the run up the beach. But it's Darren Mercer from Ostermere, and this will be Ostermere's first ever Australian Championship, and it's going to be a great joy down there on the south coast as this young competitor from the Illawarra area returns back to the beach. He's only got that 10 strokes to go before he gets to his feet, and it's Darren Mercer from Ostermere. There you see it is Darren Mercer from Ostermere who's going to be first up. He's got to run around a blue and white flag and a short beach sprint, and there's Darren Mercer. You can hear the crowd because it's the first ever gold medal to Ostermere, and there's Darren Mercer of Ostermere rounding the flag, short beach sprint, and a great effort to win the Kellogg's Junior Ironman Championship of Australia. In second place, Sean Kenny of Warriewood coming up in the second place, and Surfers Paradise is coming through at the rate of knots to take over the third place. That's Trevor Hendy of Surfers Paradise has gone into the third place, so a great run. So there's an event there was a lot of excitement in. It was catastrophe in and a rescue, where we saw Peter Dorries, who led all the way from North Burleigh in the last and final leg, suffer some type of accident out there, was recovered by the rescue craft, brought back to the beach, and Darren Mercer, who had just overtaken Peter Dorries, had swum brilliantly to come in the first place, and in second place would be Sean Kenny of Warriewood, and in the third place Trevor Hendy of Surfers Paradise.
Well done, Darren. That was a very strong win.
Yes, I was second as I came out of the ski and dived into the board second and came out first. When I got into the swim, I knew I had to hold all the competitors back because that's one of my weakest legs, and I did pretty well.
You're very strong on the board, aren't you?
Yeah, the board is my strongest leg. I got a bit of a lead in the board and brought me into the swim first, which was good.
And coming round in the swim leg, were you aware of Sean Kenny coming up from behind?
I did see a competitor as I turned the buoys. I wasn't sure who it was though.
You've done a tremendous job. Congratulations.
Thanks very much.
Well, the competitors are now lined up for the Gadsden Open Surfboat Championship of Australia. And to call the station for you, Colin Chuck.
Thanks very much, John. In Station 1 on the far right-hand side, Collaroy, New South Wales. Position 2, Trig Island, Western Australia. Position 3, North Cronulla, New South Wales. Position 4, Bungan Beach, New South Wales. Position 5, Burnie, Tasmania. And position 6 from the local state, Victoria, Torquay. Well, John, all 6 crews lined up there, and we saw some very impressive performances in the semi-finals. I think principally from Trigg Island and Torquay in the first semi-final, and Bungan Beach and Burnie in the second semi. So how do you see it, John Donoghue?
Well, Bungan Beach with Ross Jorgensen, formerly of Warriewood, most certainly has got to be a strong contender for the race. And down here with the grub in Peter McDonald, they're away to a great start, and because the best one off the beach is down there in lane station 3, which would be the team from North Cronulla, followed by Bungan Beach with Ross Jorgensen. So the teams as we go out now, Trigg Island got a good break. Collaroy right down there on the station number 1 is rowing very strongly, but it's an even break by all the top teams. Now they've had to qualify through these races through the last couple of days, and the 6 strongest teams we've got in Australia racing there at the moment. Going out at the 200-metre mark, nothing separates any of the teams, and as Colin Shug has called them, Collaroy are in 1, Trigg Island is in 2, North Cronulla is in 3, Bungan Beach, New South Wales in 4, Burnie, Tasmania in 5, and down in the station number 6 we have the local club of Victoria, Torquay.
Well, John, at this stage, I think Collaroy over in 1 have got the lead, and there's a slight advantage, in my opinion, in position 1 here. Collaroy rowing very, very strongly, and I'd say at this stage they're probably a half boat length clear. Bungan Beach, New South Wales also performing well, and over here in position 6, Torquay from Victoria. Not much, probably only a boat length separating the whole 6 clubs, but perhaps Collaroy and Bungan Beach, the 2 leading competitors, as they're about halfway out to the turning buoys.
Yes, of course, I've just been looking at all the crews through the glasses, and they're relaxed and rowing very strongly. And from our helicopter, we can see that the team in Station 5, Burnie, Tasmania, is rowing very strongly. And next to Burnie, Tasmania, we have the crew from Bungan, who are also rowing strongly. And it's probably Bungan who's slightly in front at the moment from Burnie, Tasmania, and getting further down there, we have Collaroy, Trigg Island, and North Cronulla. But it's Bungan Beach slightly in front of Burnie, Tasmania at the moment, and it's a straight line run through when you look down here to Torquay. And it says Bungan just a boat length in front of the rest of the crew. So you say Bungan are rowing in front at the moment, and they're just in front of Torquay, Burnie, Trigg Island, Collaroy, and of course North Cronulla as the crews get to about 20 to 25 metres from the turning buoy. We'll be able to establish from our helicopter camera the team's lead as they go to the turning buoy, because they're rowing up there very, very strongly. Watch closely the work of these teams as they get to the turning buoy to watch how the sweep, the fellow standing at the back of the boat, gives the direction. Here's the turning buoy. There's Bungan Beach in first. Coming into second place is going to be a dead heat between Burnie, Tasmania and Collaroy with North Cronulla. There's nothing separating the mining placings. Now, as Colin has said, the assistance the crews will be looking for the wind and also the chop as they return back to the winch. And it's Ross Jorgensen pushing his boat crew from Bungan, New South Wales, very hard as they return back to the beach. In second place, Collaroy probably have moved up into second place, and of course Burnie, Tasmania are trying very, very hard. But there's no doubt about the leader at the moment in the blue boat. It's Bungan of New South Wales that are in front, and you can see the timing as these crews return back to the beach. The blades are entering the water, they're skimming across the water, trying to have as much air in the blades as possible as they go dip and pull very, very hard. But the return back to the beach is going to be positioned by all the other crews. Burnie are rowing very, very strongly, as is Collaroy on the far right-hand side in Station 1. But at the moment, it's still Bungan Beach leading from Burnie, who's moved up into second place. Torquay are moving very smartly up into third. And right down there on the extreme right-hand side in Station 1 is Collaroy. With about 200 metres to go as they come back to the beach, there's still Bungan Beach rowing very, very strongly. Coming up on the right-hand side of them as we face the picture is North Cronulla, and they're moving at the rate of knots, and Burnie have dropped back a little bit. Peter Grant has positioned Torquay beautifully to try and come back, and as Colin Shug has said, Collaroy are heading over towards the reef to see if there any assistance. They need that assistance of the chop to bring them back to the beach. With 150 metres to go, it is still Bungan Beach. Collaroy are looking for a little chop over there on the right-hand side in Station 1 to see whether they can get through. There's one there to give them a lift if they can get it. It'll give them a great lift and bring them up into calculations. They're rowing very, very hard for it, as is Bernie trying to push over the top of it. Peter Grant from Torquay is pushing his crew like no man at the moment to bring them in. He's out of calculations. Right now it's still Russ Jorgensen from Bungan Beach pushing his crew very, very hard. He's still in the lead. He's led all the way. Coleroy, with the assistance of the chop, have come up into second place, and they're coming back very, very fast. So as we see, it's Bungan Beach coming through, and also look at Bernie coming up on him at the moment, as is the crew from Torquay. And Bernie are coming through on this chop. It's going to be a finish and a half. It is Bungan Beach. Can they hold it off from Bernie Tasmania? It looks like Bernie Tasmania and Bungan Beach as they come across, and Coleroy in third place. We'll leave that to the judges. We can't see any excitement in any of the crews, but Bernie Sweeper's very excited. But have a look at the crew of Bungan Beach. Unfortunately, Bungan Beach get beaten in this event, but that's what surf lifesaving is all about. But that was so close, we'll have to leave it for the judges. A great race by Bernie. On the off chance, I'd like to see Bernie Tasmania win it because it'd be their first chance of the title, but that one is so close we'll have to wait for the judges. With a great race between Bungan Beach, Bernie and Coleroy.
And here's the result of that very close finish in the open boat race. It was first Bungan, New South Wales, who led all the way. Very close behind them, Bernie Tasmania, and third placing to Torquay in Victoria. The final and feature event on the program is the Ironman Championship of Australia. A field of 14 here from the right-hand side in station number 1. Brad Fernley of Freshwater, the red and white quartered cap. Then John Anderson of Southport in Queensland, dark cap. 4 times the Australian champion, Grant Kenny from Alexandra Headland in Queensland. Stephen Hopkins of Scarborough. In the light blue cap there is Craig Riddington from Manly. Then Barry Woodger from Currumbin, the green and white quartered cap. Mitch Kahn, the visitor from the United States. Then Clayton McDonald in the gold cap from Point Leo, Victoria. The dark cap of Dwayne Tye, Seacliff, South Australia. Mark Bennett's also in a dark cap of Southport, Queensland. Greg Mickle of City of Perth in that white and red cap. The light blue of Guy Leach, the winner of the Coolangatta Gold from Manly, New South Wales. Peter Noble from the entrance in New South Wales. And finally, Barry Newman from Queenscliff. And that would be Queenscliff in Victoria, I think, wouldn't it, John?
Queenscliff, New South Wales.
Queenscliff, New South Wales. The sequence is ski, board, and then swim. The same sequence we've had right through. And away they go, Grant Kenny after his 5th Australian title.
Yes, and of course this is Grant's strongest leg within the race, and right at the moment is Craig Riddington on his left. Has got the best of the break, but have a look at Dwayne Thies in the centre of the field, get a good break also, and up the other side we get the competitor from the entrance, Peter Noble, who's got well out there too. Clayton McDonald of Point Leo is well placed, but it's Craig Riddington slightly in front of the fellow from Freshwater, and he's paddling very strongly, but on Clayton McDonald and Point Leo is out there right with it. It's surprising, Norman, that Grant Kenny, the strongest ski paddler out there, is at this stage right in the middle of the field, and he can't afford to give these guys a break because he's not the strongest swimmer in there. And actually, just as I spoke, he stopped paddling because he got into interference there with the competitor from Southport. But he's going to have a lot of difficulty going through this field as we see the action from the chopper as they go around to the first turning point. But it's the competitor from Point Leo in front at the moment. That's Clayton McDonald in front of Dwayne Thies from Seacliff, South Australia. On the other side with the Greg Mickle paddling very strongly. The competitor from Freshwater, Brad Fernley, is right up there. And as we go back through the field, it's a long way back before we get to Grant Kenny, who's on the inside of it, and he's currently running 5th. But coming back towards the beach is Clayton McDonald of Point Leo in front. It's Dwayne Thies of Seacliff, South Australia, coming up to him on his right-hand side. And behind him, Brad Fernley of Freshwater, coming over then to Greg Mickle of City of Perth, and then to Grant Kenny of Alexander Headlands, and then Craig Riddington of Manly is in the placings right then. Mark Bennett is placed right then, and we see Mitch Kahn and coming through to Guy Leach, and on the far side we see the fellow paddler from Queenscliff called Barry Newman. They're about 100 metres to go before they hand over to the changeover, and it is still Clayton McDonald of Point Leo who's going very well, but coming up on him is Dwayne Thies, and we saw how well he paddles. And look at Dwayne Thies, a lot of quality with what this young fellow does in all surfing. He doesn't make many mistakes, and that's Dwayne Thies of Seacliff out first, Clayton McDonald of Point Leo second. In third place, Brad Fernley. In fourth we have Greg Middle, then we have Leach, then further back to Mark Bennett, then Grant Kenny, then Craig Riddington, then to Mitch Kahn, then further back to Peter Noble, then right back then to Barry Woodger and a whole host of other competitors. Going back into the second leg, and here's a surprise for me because I would have thought Grant Kenny would have been in front on this leg, and he can't afford to give this lead to any of the competitors at the moment, but it's most certainly Dwayne Thies, Seacliff, South Australia, in front in the second leg.
Well, while you're looking at the leaders, John, Grant Kenny did a brilliant changeover from the ski to the board, and I reckon he's gone from about 7th to about 4th place. A very good changeover into the water.
Well, he'll have to do it because you can see the lead that is being increased by this young competitor from Seacliff, South Australia, and he most certainly has opened up his lead at the moment. And as I put the glasses on into second place, we can see the competitor from Point Leo in Clayton McDonald, and as you said, Norman, Grant Kenny has moved up into 3rd position. Now, Grant Kenny is not the fastest swimmer out there. That'd have to be Craig Riddington, and Craig Riddington sitting behind Grant Kenny in 7th position at this stage. But it's going to be anybody's race. The excitement on the beach is unbelievable. There's not a person moving around. The whole crowd is centred right into the area where the Ironman is being held. And it's probably the most popular event in the Surf Life Saving Championships held in Point Leo on this weekend. But have a look at the lead that this young fellow from Seacliff, South Australia has got. Dwayne Thies, who's trained very hard in both Queensland and New South Wales over the last couple of years, and going back to his home state, has always competed for Seacliff, and he's gapped him at the moment. The Daylight is 2nd, 3rd and 4th. But coming up as the minor placings now, we can see the interest in as they go around the boys between Mark Bennett of Southport, has moved up into 2nd place, then back to Clayton McDonald, and we can see coming up the very class there is a great run there by Guy Leach, and Craig Riddington coming through, but it's Clayton McDonald's Point Leo in 3rd. Mark Bennett of Southport, Queensland is in 2nd place, and right back then to the lead, Dwayne Thies, Seacliff, South Australia. With about 100 metres to go on the change for the second leg, it is still Dwayne Thies of Seacliff in front. Grant Kenny has dropped back into 5th place. He's behind Craig Riddington. Barry Woodger has moved up. Brad Thurmley has moved back into 6th place, and we see Mitch Kahn at the moment dropping right back into 7th or 8th position. Craig Riddington has now moved up on Clayton McDonald to come into 3rd place, and he's well positioned for the swim. But I just don't believe they can give the start to Wayne Thies. He's not the fastest, and have a look at the quality of his work again on the changeover. This is a make and break a competitor, but it's Wayne Thies. You can see the young competitor from Seacliff, South Australia. He's having a look behind him. He knows that he's got the big chance for this one. He's faster than Mark Bennett in the swim, but there's a whole host of competitors going through. Entering into the final leg of the Ironman, which is the swim leg, it's Dwayne Thies, Seacliff, South Australia, is a very, very good swimmer. Is top speed, not as fast as Riddington. In 2nd place will be Mark Bennett, and coming up into behind Mark Bennett is his other teammate from Southport, South Australia, which would be John Anderson, used to be from Stockton, New South Wales, and then to Craig Riddington of New South Wales. Now, Riddington is the fastest swimmer. I don't believe he can give the start to Dwayne Thies of Seacliff, but we'll live and learn. Riddington is in the water. He's running 3rd at the moment with Anderson of Southport. Bennett of Southport's in 2nd place, and a long way in front of them is Dwayne Thies of Seacliff, South Australia. Grant Kenny, I hate to say it because he's been a top competitor, but he won't have the pace to pick these swimmers up at the moment, and right now he's not running for a place, because out there and swimming very strongly is young Dwayne Thies, Seacliff, South Australia, and it's going to be a great win for him if he can hold them off. Already Riddington has moved up into 3rd place. He's taken over from John Anderson, and he's got the sights of Mark Bennett right in front of him now. He'll have Mark Bennett by the boys, I would suggest, and then it's a string along the boys and away back to the beach. Now, Riddington, being a very good surf swimmer, he will make his play behind the boys. He'll try. I'd suggest that Dwayne Thies would have 4 boy lengths lead at this stage in this event, and that's when Riddington's going to make the run. He's going to try and put everything he can to pick up as much ground as he can before the young swimmer from South Australia makes the return to the beach from the red and yellow buoy. There's Riddington now moving up on Mark Bennett of Southport, South Australia, Southport, Queensland, and he's moving up to equal 2nd place. He's just go past now Mark Bennett, and he's got now in his sights the young fellow from Seacliff, South Australia, in Dwayne Thies. Now, this is going to be a swim and a half if Riddington can have it. Thies has got the opportunity now of seeing, there's the second boy, I said that before. Now, it's not going to be that way. Riddington is on the third buoy now. Now, you watch the fast stuff from our camera in the chopper as Riddington pushes. Now, have a look at him putting his head down. He's going to try and he knows this is where he's got to put his power in because he's got the young swimmer in 2 buoys. He's picked up a half a buoy length lead in 4 buoys. Now, coming up to the red and yellow, he's up to 3 buoys. It'll be 3 buoys. He picked up 1 buoy length on the one around the beach. Now, Riddington is a very fast swimmer, but young Dwayne Thies is also a top surfer. Now, it's whether Riddington can put him in tall. He didn't get a good turn on the buoys, and what a race this is going to turn out to be. My prediction will be that it'll be Thies that'll hit the beach first, just in front of Riddington. But Riddington is swimming a little off course. He wants to straighten up. Thies has got a beautiful course back to the beach. He's got the blue and white turning flag right in the middle of his head. Riddington's about 5 metres to the right-hand side of it, and Thies is trying to hold him off. Riddington's put himself in a situation where Thies can't see him. Thies is a right-hand breather. He's trying to look for Riddington and can't pick him up, and Riddington's sitting on his blind side, but Riddington doesn't have the best run back to the beach. He's too wide. It's Thies that's running the shortest course possible, and that's a direct line to the blue and white turning flag. Dwayne Thies, Seacliff, South Australia, who's leading. Craig Riddington, Manly, is putting it all in to try and get it. Mark Bennett of Southport is sitting in 3rd place. And coming up into 3rd place past Mark Riddington is Guy Leach of Manly. So it looks like Manly for the minor placings. But it's going to be the Seacliff swimmer that gets there first. Riddington has to put it in front now. Riddington's about 4 metres behind him, but have a look at Thies. He's held it out for the finish, and he's held it all the way. Thies is using his legs like nobody's business at the moment to bring him back to the beach. Riddington's going to try and sit in his chop to give him every assistance possible. But it's Dwayne Thies, Seacliff, South Australia, who's in front, and he's going to hold off Craig Riddington. Only 15 metres to go before he stands up. There's a couple of little chops here. Won't be any assistance at all to Craig Riddington, and it's a good run, a good swim to Dwayne Thies, because there's only a metre or 2 separating them now. It's going to, because Thies got it in him. He's looking around, he's porpoising across the edge. The crowd are with him. Here's a new champion for Australian Ironman, and it's a great one to Dwayne Thies, Seacliff, South Australia. The first time ever they've won an Australian championship, and have a listen to the crowd as they show their acclamation to this young champion going across the line first. A great one. He's waited 3 years for it. Dwayne Thies, Seacliff, South Australia first. Craig Riddington, Manly in 2nd place, and coming up into 3rd place, and they won't catch this man. He's the longest athlete, best athlete in long distance in Australia, Guy Leach. A great Ironman championship of Australia. Johnson at Wax, Ironman champion of Australia, is Dwayne Thies, Seacliff, South Australia. Craig Riddington, Manly 2nd. Guy Leach is in 3rd place, and coming up is Barry Woodger of Currumbin, Mark Bennett then of Southport, then to John Anderson of Southport in 5th place. Coming up into the position now, 10th place to Grant Kenny of Alexander Headlands, and he couldn't keep up the pace as the younger competitor in Dwayne Thies. He spent a lot of time with Dwayne in training, and I'm sure if he couldn't win it, he couldn't think of a better victor than Dwayne Thies. A great Johnson Wax Ironman champion of Australia.
The result of the Ironman race is now official. First was Dwayne Thies of Seacliff in South Australia. 2nd, Craig Riddington, Manly, New South Wales. And 3rd, Guy Leach, also Manly, New South Wales.
Great stuff, Dwayne. Your first national Ironman title.
Yeah, I'm very happy. Thanks.
You seem to have it won at the end of the first leg. You're going into your strongest leg and you're winning already.
Yeah, well, I came out of the ski in a good posse, and I didn't want anybody near me in the board so that they could wash right off me and get a lift out. So I ran hard along the beach there, and then I had my own water in the board, and that was my strongest leg. So that's where I tried to make the most ground on the rest of the field.
Looked like it could have been a pretty thrilling finish there if the swim leg had been any longer.
Yeah, I was dying, and I looked. I came around the last can and saw Rideau, and he'd caught me a bit, and then I just put my head down and swam as hard as I could because I knew that that was his best leg, and he would be after the gold too. So
you would have had to fall over to lose it then, though, wouldn't you?
Yeah, at the end here, yeah, because he was still swimming when I was waiting, so I sort of knew I had it won then.
Well, you had a very good win in the heats yesterday, and you seem to be able to handle those miserable conditions as well as today.
Yeah, well, I liked the conditions yesterday, the chops and the runs. I find it better if there's a few skates coming in. I think that's to my advantage to be able to catch them and keep running on them. And so that didn't really worry me, the wind and that yesterday.
Did you have a plan going into the race today?
Yeah, it was just to go flat out. My ski leg was pretty, it was sort of all right, so I figured if I just went flat out in that, and then I could go harder in the board, and then the swim was the last leg, and if you're in front, you're not going to go slow.
Hard to keep the smile off your face, isn't it?
Oh, it is now, yeah. I've been trying to do this for a few years and now it's happened.
How are you feeling?
Good. Real good.
That was the final event on the program here at the 1985 Australian Surf Lifesaving Championships. The next championships in 1986 will be held at Moana in South Australia. Norman May at Point Leo for ABC Sport.